Hey everybody, we're going to attempt to take the old 68 Firebird here once around the block. I've gone as far as driving on the trailer and then off the trailer into the garage. So we're going to give it a go around the block and see how this goes. Hopefully I make it back and the weather holds out, but we're going to give it a shot. So let's check this out. I suppose here goes nothing. Still gotta like that part. And I didn't even clean the windshield yet. It looks pretty crummy, but we're gonna go for it. Transmission even shifts. How about that? And it still smells like absolute death inside here. Brakes feel good. No weird noises going over bumps. Transmission shifts. Varying noise under the hood. I'm beginning to think it's a water pump, but I'll dig into that here momentarily. But tell you what, this thing actually drives pretty nice. Steering wheel straight. No weird thumping or bumping. Made it back in one piece, so let's go read the first trip I've taken in this old car, and it actually drives relatively nice. No weird noises. Even the four-wheel manual drum seems to respond pretty good. Left the seat up, probably a bit of a mistake. A bunch of crap started flying around, but it's still not that great a smell in here. But we made it back in one piece. So I'm gonna see what's making that noise under the hood, but pretty sure we're gonna find some water pump. Hear the bearing growl right now. Maybe. I know I can't hear it, but probably the longest I've had it running. It's actually doing better. I think getting out of storage and getting some time on it's helping that old carburetor out even a little bit too, and even the engine, but no smoke. Not even an oily film inside the tailpipe. So again, I don't love the 1975 350, but I think it's a great engine. Sounds awful, but definitely sounds a little better. Oh, look at that. I see the water just started pouring down the old crankshaft pulley there. See a little puddle, a little trace, a little dampness there. I bet you if I grab this water pump, it's all over the place. believe I found my culprit. I got a bad water pump, so I add that to the list of things to do. Make it look just a little better. I'm gonna clean this engine up because I plan on changing the intake and now the water pump now too. Get the intake changed over to have a 4-barrel intake that does not have an EGR valve. It's the older style. It has just the heat riser for the carburetor, and that's it. So look more period correct, and get rid of that little 2-barrel carburetor. And then try to wash this top and see if I can get it back to more of a white instead of a tan top. See how that works out, and I guess give the whole thing a bath and show some love to this whole thing and maybe put some shine on it here. So I guess we'll see how this goes. So let's check it out. We'll start here with the engine, get you kind of a close up beforehand. We got a bunch of oily, sludgy crud on the heads from appears to be some failing valve cover gaskets, which I plan on changing those out. Get the firewall rinsed off, get all this, maybe some of that dirt to come off these fenders, make it look a little better. Battery tray, get the engine polished up, same as that side there, but just give it a good rinse, and then we'll see if we can make this thing look a little better. And even down here at the bottom, even kind of a neat thing, that lower panel down there, there's a filler panel between the front valence. Sometimes it's missing or never had it. This one still has it on there. Kind of a neat little add-on. So let's get to washing. Very messy job. I like to say that it looks a little better here, but I'll let you check it out and make your own decision on that. All the crud and sludge on the engine is gone. Nice bare casting, a little bit of rust, of course. No more oily, gooey gunk on it, so I'm gonna say that's a victory. A lot of this dirt came out. Got a bunch of stuff from, let's say, mouse hiding down here where the engine body mounts. That's all flushed out and cleaned out. They were ready to change out an intake and change out a water pump. This side looks a lot better now too. No more sludge on it. Didn't find any real surprise or anything really cool besides just dirt going everywhere. And I'm going to back the car down the driveway. There's probably about 5 pounds of dirt on the ground now where I just washed all this stuff out. I guess now, the moment of truth, I'm going to back this thing out the driveway and you can see the pile of junk underneath it. I guess we'll see if this thing will actually start too. That might be kind of might be entertaining. After getting it now soaked down, let's see what happens. Probably should keep this car. Well, that is kind of disgusting. There's piles of who knows what on the driveway. So now I got to clean that off, but I guess we'll call that making progress. Well, just giving this old bird a bath, it actually came out pretty clean. White walls are back to white. Paint, cleaned up some. One of the biggest improvements, now the top is white again. Took some scrubbing on that, but it's coming back to life. So I want to say that's going to work out just fine. I'm going to see about getting the old buffer out, putting some shine on this paint, make it look a little better. That's going to be my next step here, so let's see how that goes. Start buffing down here with the old buffer here. I think it actually might be easier to crush up some bricks, mix some water into it, and start buffing on it. It's pretty rough, but I'm actually going to start with some little 3M rubbing compound, see how that works out, see if we can get some shine back into this whole paint, make it look a little better going down the road. It might be easier to actually try to buff this concrete. This paint is rough and dead, but I'm gonna keep going at it, but I'm not quite sure if I'll get all the swirls out of it or not. Well, several minutes later, I guess we do the time lapse, but this side actually doesn't look as bad. Now the paint's still dead, it's not going to be showroom finish, but if you do like it before and after, I think it's worth it. I'll go ahead and finish buffing out the entire car, make it look a whole lot better. Again, it won't be showroom finish brand new, but at least it has a bit of a shine to it now. So when you're driving it, well, won't be too bad off. I'm sure if you keep cutting and buffing on it, it may come out a little better, but I'm not going to get that carried away. Now, in case you're wondering, we have the paint actually has a shine to it. Now, you can see where I'm getting a little thin, a little darker here, brighter red there. So, not much paint left on this car to get the shine back to it, but I want to still say it looks better than the completely 100% just dead bleached out paint. Now, the technique for this, I'll show it to you here on the back. This camera really doesn't show how awful this paint looks necessarily, but this is definitely more orange than it is red. It shows a little bit of a shine there to it, but really has no reflection at all. It almost looks very chalky, the paint. Now the idea is kind of like cutting and buffing a new paint job. You just take off the top layer of dead paint, start with like 600 grit sandpaper, work your way up to, I stopped at 2000 and then took the buffer to it, at least get some, at least kind of a red color back to it. But really this car just needs a respray at some point. But the goal with this car was just to kind of make it a good driver. So I figured instead of looking all dead like this paint, we get the car looking like the front of it up here. At least, you know, moving down the road and driving it, at least have some shine to it. So I'm gonna continue that, but I'm gonna show you how I do that here. All right, let's get started here. Now, basically, it's just color sanding and buffing. Same thing you do on a new paint job, but on something like this, you don't have to be quite as nervous if you scratch it or buff through. It just kind of adds to the age effect to make it look, I guess, older, more patinaed, if anything. So what I'm gonna do, you start with some like 320 grit. I'm gonna start pretty heavy, really take off a top layer of this paint, then keep going progressively lighter, 600, 800, 1500, 2000. Then you come back with some rubbing compound and polish it up like the old 3M stuff up there. Seems to work pretty good. I'm gonna do a little corner of the trunk here so you can see how it's done. And I gotta finish the rest of the car. It's gonna take a little time, but I definitely think it's worth it. But just basically start out with, I got a little spray bottle full of water, keep it going, soak the panel down, keep it same technique as if you're actually color sanding a real nice paint job. So again, great practice if anything, but you'll sand through, it'll go from like a light chalky orange to almost a darker red color. And about that point is when I'm going to stop sanding and change to lighter grit sandpaper and keep going progressively lighter until I get to stop about 2000. point, that's all it's going to take that top layer off. See if I get that camera in here and you can see it. Okay, now out there, what you can see, this looks more, of course this camera doesn't really give it justice, but this is very chalky and orange looking. And you actually see a little deeper red here. I'll try to get a little better lighting on it. But this is definitely a deeper red than it is up here. This is more almost like carousel red or hugger orange. And this is more like the red original color. Now I've only sat on this for a few seconds. You saw it at 320. Just taking the top layer of the dead paint off. Then I'll keep going progressively lighter with the sandpaper grit to the point where I can polish it. It's still going to have the deep cracking in the paint. You'll never get rid of that. It needs a strip down and start all over. But again, we'll make this thing look a little better, put some shine on it. So that's what I'm going to do to get the color restored back to the right color instead of trying to polish this chalky orange stuff. It's not cutting and buffing. This will shine back up red, and I think it'll look a lot better. Now I'm going to hit the entire area here with 800. Go one more step lighter here. And the finer the grit, the easier it's going to be to buff out when we're done. So if you stop with the darker the color, you may start with 600 and end with 2500 or 3000 grit. But in this case, well, I don't need to get that carried away. We're just trying to take the top layer of paint off. It's never going to shine 100% anyway, so we're going to stop about 2000 and see how that works. I'll step up to 2000 grit now. There you go. Now you can really see more of a contrast in color, chalky orange and more of a red. It's a little hazy looking because I need to polish it out some, but that'd be the next step. And there's probably other techniques or maybe a better way to do this. This just seems to be working for me, so I'd share it with you in case you get an old car like this. You want to put some shine back on it and bring some light back into the old paint. So next step, a little rubbing compound on a buffer, see what it does. I suppose there's probably different techniques for this. I've always been told, or at least even my experience, never put the compound right on the paint. Always put it on your buffing pad. I've seen sometimes you put it on the paint, you'll actually see those marks come back through it when you put the compound on. So to prevent that, I've always learned to put it on the old buffer wheel. here. Now, you can actually see, try to get it right. There's actually a reflection in the paint. You can see my fingers in the paint. You come over here, nothing. Here, at least we got some shine back to it. Again, you'll still see if you get really close. That deep cracking in the paint, you'll never get rid of all that. So I guess to me, this looks a little better than this. So I guess that's the technique. Now we got to finish the entire rest of the car. But I'm at least let you see the details, what it takes to get it there. So by the power of, I guess, the TV magic again, next time you see this car, should be all shined up. And one last look at the interior in the car. The next video, we plan on getting all this torn out of here and assessing that floor. So this time around, we'll go ahead and get the outside all shined up, polish on the bumpers, and see if we can make the outside of the car look a whole lot better. I'm just going to give you a quick 5-10 second little view here. The bumper shined up pretty good. Red paint is bright red again. It has a bit of a shine to it. And then the best part of all, that top is bright white. So if you want to see a little more detail, a little more what it looks like when it's finished, you're just going to have to watch this series all the way to the end. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Had a pretty good start here. Made it a first road voyage. Made it around the block and back. No problems, no casualties. And the transmission even shifts. So I'll call that a victory. Did find out the brakes worked good. Steering felt great. Suspension felt nice. And even being a convertible, felt pretty solid on the road. So I think this bird's got plenty of life left in it. So I'd say the next step is, well, pluck the interior of this old stinky thing and find out what's happened there and come up with a plan for the floor repair. It's going to need some love. So and even during that process, if there's any detail that you'd like to see, let me know. Hit me up in the old comments or send me a message on the email link we have in the description of the video. And of course, I got the outside shined up looking pretty good. I don't want to give away too much of it here. I got to save some kind of surprise for the end. And then, of course, the top now is bright white. So that's going to do us this time around. Appreciate you following us. And if you like what you see, help us out. Please subscribe, tell your friends. And, of course, anything you'd like to see, let me know. We'll see you next time.